everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Transitions Collective. I'm your host, Mary Clavier. This week, I'm bringing you a short but important episode talking all about consistency, why it's important for your business, and what you can do to help yourself stay consistent. So first off, a little bit about why. Why is it important to be consistent? I think everyone hears that. Most people hear that. When I first heard it, I thought, yeah. Like, okay, it's important to be consistent and I get it, but I don't think I truly got it until now when I'm doing some reflection about it. So, it's important for a lot of reasons. And we'll get into some of them more when I talk about how, but it builds your credibility as an expert in whatever you're doing, or just as someone that shows up, that someone that is reliable and that other people can depend on. So even if your business is, for example, a product, if you're showing up all the time, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, if you're showing up with your brand, then people know that you're reliable, even if it comes to collaborations or sponsorships or other things. Same with, having expertise in an area, showing that you've been consistent all along and that you've done however many interviews or you've worked however many hours on something. It just adds to you being someone that people will look to and speak to in that space. So what I wanted to do was just go through a few quick tips that I found in order to help you stay consistent, or things that have helped me to stay consistent. So the first one is to start with one thing and then add on to it. I think a lot of times it's really easy to get lost in the space of wanting to do all the things all the time, right? And feeling so overwhelmed that you either try to do all of them or you do none of them. And what I found really helpful is to just really start with one thing and build on that first before you add other things in. For example, even with these videos that I do, I started by just hitting record, using my Apple computer headphones and setting up interviews with people. And I built on from that. I first wanted to get in the habit of actually doing some videos. So I started recording some videos. I asked some of my friends that also had businesses that I wanted to share their story. And I asked them if they would come on the show and share their story, and they did. And that's how I started. And then after some months of getting in the groove with that and getting used to interviewing, getting used to the process, finding a process for myself and making it over time, then I added in other things. I added in an intake form for people for when I was scheduling interviews, because that just is so helpful. I love Acuity. People also use Calendly and other, there's other resources out there. I then added lighting and a microphone. So I have a better headset now, which for video, it's the one where you can't really see. It's in my ears. I will show you, see? And you can see my microphone probably over there. And also lighting, which I'm not using today because I am in a remote location. But I added other tools and equipment as I went. So instead of being overwhelmed to say, okay, I can't start my video until I have, a process to intake people. I mean, I had a process, but just not a really great one, not a very streamlined one, but say a process for adding people to the show or inviting them. I need the best equipment. I need the best, lighting or whatever those resources might be for whatever you're doing. I could have said, okay, I need to get all those in place first, but I didn't, because if I waited for that, I'm sure I would still be waiting and not doing video. But as I went, I was able to, look into different things. Even some of my guests that I have had on have given me tips for different equipment or things that I could use. So I think it's important to pick one thing and start with it, and know that that's not going to be the best version of it. You're going to keep adding to it in different ways. So whatever that looks like for you. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was in order to stay consistent, it's very easy to tell yourself, like, when it's a hard day or a hard week or a hard month, whatever it is, um, it's easy to say, okay, like, I'll do that tomorrow, you know? Um, and really, it's very easy to keep saying that to yourself and then never go back to actually doing it. So even on your tough days, you need to drag yourself to do things. It happens. I mean, nothing is perfect. You know, even when I feel this way for my own business, I'm like, okay, well, it could be worse. I could feel like I'm dragging myself even more for a corporate job, for example. So the important the important thing is that even if you don't want to do something one day, okay, you really know yourself. If you need a day to recover from something or whatever, that's fine. But don't just let it loose to the point where then you just don't do it anymore. So I find, you can give yourself a day to recuperate, but then after that, get back on track. Because otherwise it's just going to snowball, go downhill from there, and you'll stop doing whatever it is that you wanted to do. So that's a really big other thing. I mean, I relate it to going to the gym. I don't really like to go to the gym. I know it's very good for me, not just physically, but also mentally, because the exercise just really, really helps my brain. So I drag myself to go. I always feel better once I'm there and getting into a workout. And it's the same thing. Like if there's things in your business or the work that you're doing that you feel like you're dragging yourself a little bit. Oh, I don't really want to do that. Like maybe it's social media or something else. Who knows. Um, but if you feel like you're dragging yourself, just know that it's going to pay off. You showing up is going to pay off for you, for your business, for your clients, for everything. So that's the second thing. Like, even if you have to force yourself sometimes, force yourself to do it, because otherwise, you know, you're just, you might not want to. And then the other thing is, if you are feeling overwhelmed with all of that, if you do, say like, okay, I'll do something the next day or the day after, whatever it is, if you put it off, focus on just one thing at a time. So within that, whatever you want to do, just think about the very next step. If it seems overwhelming, like now you have a big process in place or whatever it is, just focus on the very next thing. I do that. I mean, it's related to consistency, but it's also related to overwhelm. If you just feel like there's so much going on, you don't know how you're going to tackle it all, just focus on the one thing at a time. I think that also really makes a big difference. So, I'll share a little bit about my journey. I hinted at some of it before, but I'll explain a little bit more of it so you can have some context and then see how it can help you with where you are in your journey and what you can maybe add to in your business or be more consistent with. So, like I said, I started the videos as interviews. I was just literally like hitting record. I think the only things I had in place, I think, were, well, I would set up appointments like by email with people. I did work out like a graphic template in Canva to show as the thumbnail on the videos, and that had my image and the guest's image, and I had my laptop and my headphones. So I started by doing that and started releasing the videos, on the different platforms from that. And then from there, I added in an intake form, like I said, on Acuity, where I could do like the full process of getting the guests' information, their social media handles, so that everything, when it's ready to share, and I can tag them. Also getting a photo of their headshot so I don't have to circle back and ask them later, hey, can you send me a headshot to use for the graphics? All of that stuff went into the intake form. So then it was very quick and easy for them to make an appointment. I put my availability in the calendar. They can pick an appointment time and they can fill out the form, and then it's done. And then I just circle back when the episode goes live. And then from there, like I said, I added the lighting and the microphone and just some other tweaks that I've done along the way. So if you look back at like my first videos, I mean, it's still, my videos aren't perfect now, but I'm doing them. but I was definitely more nervous in my earlier videos. And I think over time, like just the practice and how I've just kept going with them also just gave me more of that confidence. So, and putting in all those tweaks over time also made me feel better about my videos, like um, the first ones, it was like, okay, very plain. Maybe I just looked rigid. I didn't like the style of them or something. Again, I'm on location today. So this is different than usual, but you get my point. So over time, I added to them. And I have to say, the thing that inspired even this episode is the fact that it didn't click for me, the whole consistency thing. I mean, I knew about it. I believed it. I said, yes, okay, like I get it. My business coach, Shay, would always tell me, like, consistency is so important, Mary. Trust me, it's so important. And I believed her because I believe Shay and I love her. But at the same time, I was kind of like, okay, well, I don't really see it. It was hard for me to understand and to see what it meant. And the other day someone was asking about an episode and I was kind of going back. They were asking about a topic and I was like, "Oh, I have an episode on that." And I just realized, like, I'm at, I think, 30 something episodes now, and you know, that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't consistent. If I wasn't trying to publish, in the beginning it was every few weeks. I might have even started monthly, I don't remember, but and then over time, um showing up more frequently just so that I could, stay even as I was. That's another thing about scheduling. You start with what you can and then you make it better and you improve. So then I started to release more frequently because I wanted to be even more consistent. I got the hang of it and then I said, okay, now I can move to every 2 weeks, or now I can move to every week. So I looked back and I was at 30 something episodes and I was like, how did that happen? I mean, I know how it happened because I was showing up, but it still seemed weird that I had so many episodes. Um, and that's when it kind of clicked for me. Like, that's why it's important. You don't see how the consistency impacts until you're way into it, right? And I think that's why most people kind of give up so quickly. I mean, people give up for all different reasons. It's super easy to give up. And if something's really not working for you, I'm not saying like stick with something that doesn't work for you, but it's super easy to give up. I think it's a lot harder to stay and be consistent. So for me, looking back and seeing that, I was like, oh wow, that's what it looks like when you're consistent. You like wake up one day surprised that you have something to show for it. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. So anyway, I wanted to keep it a quick episode, and I'm already, at, I don't know, 13, 15 minutes or something. But um it was just to say that stay consistent for yourself, for your business. It's super important, even if you can't see right in this moment why. It does pay off. Oh, and I'll add one more thing to that too. For even next phase consistency for me, for the interviews and what that looks like, I recently started a newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go to thetransitionscollective.com and sign up. And it's a weekly newsletter now, and I release these videos in the newsletter. And I'm starting to try to tie it to a theme and, and what I talk about and what I have going on. So there's no way I could have started episode 1 with a newsletter. First of all, who would the newsletter go to? Because I started them without, anything. And then who, like, it was just overwhelming for me, right? Like, not only who would it go to or who would want to read it, I was still practicing. They weren't like my shining moments of like, hey guys, I did these videos. Like, I was very much practicing and very nervous. So over time now, the latest edition is that I have a newsletter to go with it, where I also share in that format in case people like reading newsletters and being able to click on the link from there, maybe more than some social media platforms. So there's different ways that you can add. It's not just technical, it's not just equipment, it's not, it can be social media, posting, obviously, like Facebook and Instagram, or it can also be things like with your email marketing. Because I didn't have a newsletter for the longest time because I don't think I like understood it enough and how it was helpful, and I didn't feel clear enough on my path. So now I'm much clearer on my path. In addition to brief transitions, postpartum mesh underwear, I lead the Transitions Collective, which is a community for mom entrepreneurs transitioning from corporate, scaling their businesses, the whole thing. So now I know where I'm focused. I know who I'm talking to even better. So I felt like it was time that I could really share that in a different way and share it through a newsletter. So now I've made this episode way longer than I planned, but I would love to hear from you what you are doing to stay consistent in your business, or what you're struggling with in terms of consistency, or anything else really in your business. And if you go to thetransitionscollective.com, again, you can sign up for the newsletter. I'm always reachable at mary@thetransitionscollective.com. I'd love to hear from you, to know that these videos do something, and really I just hope it's helpful for you, that you could hear a little bit from me and my perspective, how consistency has evolved over time for me. So with that, enjoy your week, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.